Hello everyone, welcome to today's video, and those who are new to my channel, a very warm welcome to all of you as well. Please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell icon for getting notified for more such videos. And I also wanted to apologize for the last week's video because I didn't realize the screen was black, but I did notice that based on someone's comment in my video, and I have actually uploaded the document that I was going through when I was going through the EDI interview related questions and were talking about them. So with that, let's get started with our today's video. So today's video, I wanted to touch base about something very interesting that came to my attention in last couple of weeks. And it is about agentic AI. So all of you probably must have heard about the recent hype around generative AI and agentic AI and MCP Server. So what I did is that earlier this week, I actually started playing with the AWS MCP server, and specifically on a particular MCP server that I was very interested. As an architect, every now and then we spend so much time creating architecture diagrams for different presentations, demos, and customer meetings. Now, as an architect, even as an integration architect, when I was working before AWS, I had to spend like a few hours to create an end-to-end B2B EDI integration diagram. Now, folks who are into architecture, right? Folks who are like planning to become a integration architect or maybe an AWS architect, it is very important to make this architecture diagram and make it more visually good looking, right? So that you can then use that diagram in your customer conversations. What if I tell you, instead of spending 2 hours, 3 hours for creating one single diagram, if we can create such diagrams, whether it is a cloud architecture diagram, whether it is a EDI integration diagram, any kind of diagram in less than 30 seconds, or maybe less than 1 minute with just some natural language prompts, wouldn't it be interesting and very exciting as well? So let's get started with that, and I'll show you quickly how easily you can use that MCP servers concept to be able to automate this architecture diagram creation. And there are other MCP server for doing a lot of other stuff that are pretty much automated based on the agentic AI hype that we see these days. So let me quickly share my screen and let's go through that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show you the video that I actually posted in the official AWS YouTube channel early this week. And then I actually extended that further to see if I can create EDI architecture diagrams using the same concept. And it really worked wonders. And I'm going to show you a real demo for you to start playing around this concept. All right. So let me share my screen. Okay, so right now what I'm showing over here is the official Amazon Web Services YouTube channel with more than 810K subscribers. And in that, if you go to the video section and if you scroll a little down, if you see over here, around 4 days back, there's a YouTube video that was posted, which is called Accelerate AWS Architecture Diagramming Using Amazon QCLI and MCP Server. This is the video as I was referring, which I actually created when I was playing with this. And if you see, this is created by me and it got uploaded. And there's pretty much good views. Like within last 4 days, there's like 750 views. All right. So please do take a look into it when you get your spare time to see how you can create AWS related architecture diagrams. I'm going to show you even in today's video also a quick demo of how to even create AWS architecture diagram and also an example of B2B EDI integration diagram. So let's get started. All right. Now, before we jump into the demo, I wanted to quickly show you what are the steps that are involved if you want to play with this in your own laptop. So right now I'm using a Windows laptop, but you can use your own Mac laptop or whatever it is. And all you need to do is, like, if you are using any kind of, like, if you're comfortable with the command prompt, well and good PowerShell in Windows, but let's say mostly the developer community, right, they use some kind of IDE or integrated development environment. For me, I use Visual Studio Code, right? So if you see over here, this is my Visual Studio Code that I typically use for the development and testing purpose, right? Now, within that, I have my terminal open over here, and what I did is that I actually integrated a couple of things. One is the Amazon Q CLI, which is Amazon's tool itself, mostly for focused for developer community. All right, and then with on top of that, what I've done is I have actually configured the MCP server, specifically around diagram server and the documentation server that we have from AWS. Now, before we get started, someone might have any questions, like who are new to this concept. What is this MCP? So the full form of MCP is Model Context Protocol. Now, in respect to generative AI and the agentic AI hype, what happens is there are a lot of providers for large language models, be it Anthropic, be it Meta, Amazon, OpenAI, Google, right? So there are so many large language model providers, and for interacting with each of these large language models provider through API request, right? If you are giving a prompt, you need to get a response back. Now, for different large language models, there is a specific format through, like, your request should align with the specific format, and then the large language models is going to give you the response back. Now, assume that your company wants to interact with, like, maybe 1,000 large language model providers. Everyone has their own way and format in respect to the request that it is expecting from your side as an API call. So it will be very much tedious and cumbersome and complex in respect to how you want to reformat your request when you're sending a request to Meta Llama model versus if you're sending the request to OpenAI models, right? Versus a different, like, Gemini model from Google, right? Now, MCP Server Model Context Protocol is actually going to abstract that away from your developers. So what it does is that MCP Server will be sitting in between your company's system and the between the large language model providers behind the scenes. What you need to do is you need to implement your MCP server. The MCP server is basically using that model context protocol. It is an open source standard protocol launched by Anthropic, and you just send the request in natural language what you are actually expecting, and MCP is actually going to understand the use case, and based on that, it's going to call multiple agentic AI or behind the scene, and it's going to use those agents and its own understanding to be able to then communicate with different large language model providers in its own way, the way it is expecting. So you don't, that entire complexity of creating those requests based on the format that they're expecting is completely abstracted. You just need to give the prompt, the use case, what you need, what's the goal, and MCP servers are actually going to take care of that, right? That's kind of very high level. You can read more about it. Now, to install it in your own, let's say Windows or Mac, you need to install Python. I've given some steps. Python 3.0, set up a virtual environment. I've given some commands, and I'm going to also share the blog post where you have detailed step-by-step process of how you install within your Windows system. And then the third step is installing the MCP server. Now, what kind of use case you have, what is the goal? Based on that, you're going to install the MCP server for that specific task, right? So for me, like, I have installed the Diagram MCP server. I'm going to give the GitHub repo of the Diagram MCP server from AWS, which has all the icons and all the things that are needed to create AWS specific architecture diagrams. The fourth step is configuring the Amazon queue to use the MCP server. So for that, you need to, like, I've given the steps as well. You need to go to the Amazon queue folder, then create a mcp.json file, and then you have to create the entry with that MCP JSON where you're actually giving details about the AWS diagram MCP server. I've added one more like AWS documentation MCP server, which gives you the best practices of creating an architecture diagram. You need some documentation to support that these are the best practice that has been used to create that diagram, right? So I've added a couple of them. You can add more and more MCP server based on what your use case is, right? So these are the high level steps. Follow the blog post and let me know if you find any challenges to install it. Now, the interesting part of it is uh, I have created a prompt, a very natural language prompt for creating a B2B specific integration diagram, right? So what I have mentioned over here, let's say you are an architect and you get there is a project that is ongoing or is kicking off, and you need to create an architecture diagram to get approval, review it with the stakeholders, get approval, right, before you actually jump into the project development first. So typically, let's say the natural language is create an integration diagram that illustrates how multiple external trading partners communicate and exchange EDI documents with a company's internal applications through a central B2B gateway. The diagram should show trading partners on the left, each sending and receiving EDI documents such as purchase orders and invoices to and from the B2B gateway using AS2 and SFTP protocols. The B2B gateway position centrally securely routes these documents to the appropriate internal applications such as ERP or order management systems on the right side of the diagram, and also handles outbound EDI documents from the internal applications back to the trading partners. Each component and data flow should be clearly labeled with distinct icons representing trading partners, the B2B gateway, and internal applications to ensure clarity. So that's the natural language which can be customized, which can be pretty simple enough. But in your own natural language, you create some kind of like a prompt, and then use that prompt, and then maybe you can do multiple iteration to improve upon your diagram. Like if you're not happy with the first version of the diagram, add more, like fine tune your more your prompts, right, and to make it more robust, right? So let's say I'm using this uh, natural language prompt. So how to get started? So I'm going to open my Visual Studio. This is where I am logged into this Ubuntu WSL in the Windows IDE, and then I've logged in. I've actually gone to AWS MCP diagrams folder, which I've created a diagram folder. Right now, what you need to do is you need to have a AWS free builder ID to use Amazon Q CLI and MCP within your Visual Studio IDE. So for that, all you need to just is a free builder ID creation, and it's very easy. Like if you just search for, let's say, you go to this and search for AWS free builder ID. You don't need an account and anything. So all you need to do is create your AWS builder ID, right? The link that you get in Google. And then you need to go to this and use this link to create a free builder ID with some profile related information. All right. So mine is already logged in. So it takes me to my login ID, but it will give you a prompt. Okay, I'm going to give this link as well to create it, right? Now, let me go back to my Visual Studio. What I'm going to do is I need to do like Q login. All right. And I'm going to show all step by step. That's why I've logged out. Now, Q login, there are two options: use for free with builder ID, use with pro license. I'm going to select the first one so that there is no cost associated to use the free builder ID, right? Now it says open this URL, and then it's going to single sign on. So I'm going to paste this, and it says, okay, authorization requested, confirm and continue, allow Amazon Q developer for command line to access your data, and I'm allowing access. Now it says request approved, go back to the ID. Now if you see over here, it says, let me see. Let's see. I think it is logged in, but I'm still gonna check it. Okay, I'm gonna do one more time because ideally it should show over here. If not, I'm gonna do it one more time. Let's see. Confirm, continue, allow access. So I'm back with fixing the laptop issue that I was having, because I actually restarted my laptop, and for that reason I had to fix those issues. But let's get started. So what we were doing is we were actually logging to Amazon Q. For that, as I mentioned, we need to use the free builder ID, for which I'm going to give the link in the description for you to create a free builder ID. Once you have done, so it's going to give this link. All you need to do is copy this link, go back to any URL, and then confirm, continue, and then allow developer to access your data. Come back here. It says device authorized, login successfully. Now starts the fun part. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. This is a directory. There is a folder called generated diagram. All right. So typically all the files will be listed over here. Okay, whatever is being created. Now I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to stay in this folder, and as I showed you, this was the prompt that I wanted to give to create a B2B integration diagram. Let's do it. All right, so no, before even doing that, uh, let's see. Okay. First you need to do queue chat. So you need to chat with the queue. All right. Now it says, see, 0 of 2 MCP servers initialized. I showed you one was the AWS documentation, another was the AWS diagram server. Now it says you're chatting with Cloud for Sonnet, Amazon Q. Now I'm going to give this natural language query or prompt, and then I'm going to say, okay, help me create a diagram. Now it will ask you to give some permissions, trust, right? So you're the operator, you want to trust it, and then it's going to look into all the information that I've given. It's thinking. So this is the agentic AI concept. It thinks, it does reasoning, it tries to understand what the goal is, and then work backwards to see what are the steps it has to take and what are the tools it has to access to be able to create a end-to-end diagram for me. So now it says, now I will create a comprehensive B2B EDI integration diagram showing trading partners, B2B gateway, and internal applications with clear data flows. All right, now it says, okay, do you allow me to create this? So I'm going to say, okay, trust. And then it's going to create the diagram, and then it is also, let's see. So it says now inputs are already handled by the runtime. Let me fix the diagram because so there is some issue that is found out. So we're going to fix that issue. And let's see. Okay. So it found some issue. Now it says I've created a diagram. And then if you see the diagram name, B2B EDI integration.png. Now, after a diagram is created, it's actually creating the key components, right? The documentation part. So if you see the fun part, it says key components, the trading partners, left-hand side, ABC. There's a B2B gateway in the center, protocol handlers, AS2 and SFTP handler, EDI processing, and then there's like internal application right side, ERP, order management, inventory, account, data flows. It has given some information. So you can just copy paste this entire information in a presentation deck, right? Now, and it says this is the diagram. Now let's go back to the diagram folder and then try to maybe, okay, list it. All right. And view details. If you see over here, this is the diagram that it has created. You can create it in JPEG file also, or any other format. You can tell that in the prompt, but it says at 7:13, which is today's day, 3:44, it has created this B2B DI integration diagram. Let me open that diagram and let's see what it has created for us. All right. And how much time it took? Maybe less than 30 seconds, even not that, right? So if you see over here, fun part, here you go. So this is the entire B2B gateway. And if you see over here, there's a bunch of trading partner ABC. Right? Some might be customers, some might be distributors, some might be supplier. I have not given this information to him. He just thought, okay, this is how it should be. And then they're sending different kind of documents. And then there's the SFTP handler, AS2 handler. There's a B2B gateway. It is passing the data. So pretty much a good module-based EDI end-to-end diagram is what it has created for us, right? I created before this call another diagram which I wanted to show you as well. This is another document diagram it has created. For every time it might give a different diagram. So if you see over here, it also gave maybe, so trading partner B, A, C, 850s, 810s, 856, coming to the protocol handlers or the B2B gateway. And then there's like document processor, translation happening, and then going to different inbound SAP or ERP applications, order management systems. So there's another B2B integration diagram. How cool is that, right? Now, what we're going to do is maybe let's do one quick thing. Let's create a e-commerce platform, and this time we're going to create a AWS specific uh, architecture diagram. So let me say, create a diagram for an e-commerce platform with microservices architecture. Include components for product catalogs, shopping cart, checkout, payment processing, order management, user authentication. Ensure the architecture follows AWS best practices for scalability and security. Check for AWS document, ensure it adheres to AWS best practices before you create a diagram. This diagram, if I have to create as an architect, it will easily take me 2 hours minimum, right? But see how fast it's gonna create me. So it's gonna say, okay, I'm gonna look into the best practices for microservice in the documentation. I'm gonna allow it, trust it, and then it's gonna look into some other documentation, trust it, and then now it's thinking. It's looking into some other information. Now it's looking into gateway, Lambda microservices, security best practices. All right. Pretty much after reading all the documentation, it's going to understand what its goal is, and then it will help me to create an architecture diagram. So now it has started. If you see e-commerce microservices architecture diagram on AWS best practices based on, all right. All right, so it's thinking, and then you see now it's creating the diagram. All right, it says I've created in this folder generated diagram e-commerce microservice architecture diagram. Now it is going to give me a bunch of documentation and best practices that it has used to create the architecture diagram, which you can copy paste and put it into your presentation, right? So almost everything is abstracted from you. All you need to do is like make sure that it is giving the right information, but pretty much that's all you need as an architect. And then once it is completed, it's going to give all the information, right? And then if I go here, if you see over here, let me refresh over the, see, if you see 349 e-commerce microservice architecture diagram. Let's open the diagram and see what it has created. See how cool is that? This huge document with all module based, it has created all the corresponding information. Just validate that and use it for your reference, right? That's how you create an automate creating architecture diagram. I hope this was useful to all of you. You can use it for any kind of documentation, architecture diagram that you need to create manually. And I'm going to give all the links that you need to install the Amazon QCLI and the MCP server and play with this. And with that, I'm going to complete today's video. I'll see you in our next video next week. Thank you.